if you're a Mercedes fan, this was not the start that you wanted for the 2023 season. And neither did Mercedes or Toto or Lewis or George. The whole team was not satisfied with Bahrain. We did get a pretty optimistic Lewis, which is a good thing at it because last year he was not very optimistic throughout the whole entire season and did not really expect much to be done because the car was super unpredictable. I got some things to point out. I got some things that are actually looking good for the Mercedes fans and some things that are kind of bad. It's a very mixed review video, just like the actual W14 itself. Very mixed. Please leave a like, subscribe. We are on our way to 1,000. Thank you all so much. I appreciate the support so much, and you guys genuinely mean the world. Let's get into the W14 video. So, the controversial W14 start in Bahrain. We obviously just got it a day ago, was not too long ago that we saw what the real potential was of this car. And I gotta say, I'm a bit more optimistic than I was in qualifying. The car was better in the race. I guess we should have expected that. W13 was a lot better in the race as well. The tire management was pretty good, I would say. I think that Aston actually has them beat, and it actually proves that that Red Bull car is just like miles ahead when it comes to tire management to even a team like Mercedes. But some positive notes to mind. The car did in porpoise, the balance seemed alright, sure, it was understeered to Hamilton's liking, that must have been because of the fuel count, and the car probably got better throughout the whole entire session. I wouldn't say they've regressed. Sure, Ferrari has upgraded a lot, and Aston has made a huge jump, but the actual team and the car itself is not worse than the W13. Like, we can make fun of it all we want, but teams have just upgraded, and clearly they've upgraded, but not enough. They've had changes in their team, so it's not a shock to see that the guy that did work on the car a lot more before, who was James Allison, is now working on some boats for Ineos. It's not the greatest sign for Mercedes that their head of technical department isn't really the head there anymore. Now we have somebody like Mike Elliott, who's made both these no side pod designs, and clearly the car hasn't gone into their way. Toto talks about the concept being completely wrong. Nothing to pick up from Bahrain. It was a terrible race, terrible weekend for them.
Worst days in racing. Really not good at all. We're just lacking pace, front, right, and center.
I think he's just trying to be more negative towards the media. Obviously, as a team principal, you cannot be satisfied with fourth. That's the fourth fastest car, really. And listen, they are Mercedes. They are, if not the most prestigious team in Formula One as of right now. Everybody looks at them like, what, they're not at the top? How is this even possible? It's the same thing with Ferrari every single year that we get. That is the team that we always look forward to being at the top, but they're not necessarily at the top. That's kind of how Mercedes is feeling now in 2023. Team is looking forward to a huge upgrade package in Baku, which is actually the fourth race of the year, believe it or not, due to a huge gap happening right after really the end of March, and we're getting a race by the end of April. So huge gap for them to develop something. Listen, the season just started. It's not over. There are so many things to look forward to. Red Bull do look a far way ahead, but even Lewis was like, you know what, we can catch them. He said that in the interview after, that a second is not too far behind. I mean, it's far. It's definitely optimistic by Lewis, but I don't mind his optimism. I like hearing a positive Lewis. I think that it is possible for teams to catch that Red Bull. I don't think it's going to be a blowout year. I think everybody's already thinking, wow, those Red Bulls are just going to blow everybody out the water. I do not think so. Some upgrades I think that are coming, and some info that I do have, I'm about to talk about right now. First of all, I talked about in my last Mercedes W14 video that the actual front suspension itself is the key really to where this car's tire management will go, how they're able to put the car a lot lower. Listen, that Aston Martin looked very pacey, and clearly they are given the rear suspension. So, like I said, the front suspension is where the key is for Mercedes. They're changing their actual side pod concept, kind of. Mike Elliott has pointed out it's an evolution, not a revolution. So we're not going to get a completely B-class car, as what some people are thinking, but we will get a car that is definitely different to what we have right now. Their race pace is still good. Their qualifying pace does need to improve, meaning that they probably can't fire those tires up as much, but it also has to do with them being weak in the low speed to medium speed corners. The medium speed corners, that Aston is insane on the medium speed corners. And that is something that Mercedes is really lacking. I mean high speed. High speed corners is where the Mercedes is really lacking. High speed and low speed. Medium, they weren't bad. Aston was actually comparable to them. They were the two best teams on the medium speed corners. Now, Red Bull is great on high speed and low speed, and so is Ferrari. The Ferrari is really quick in the straights. They did improve their straight line speed, so that means that rear wing did work, as well as reducing a lot of the drag. The problems that they do have, though, are not the dragginess, but the loss of downforce that they have with not having a big rear wing. Yet again, I guess the barn door is the better call for the race, but it was Lewis that was ahead and beat George Russell, who was on the bigger rear wing spec. So I guess the rear wing did work in some ways, but also didn't work in other ways. They need to improve the actual balance of the car. The car is not a car that will be great on every track, but tracks like Saudi might be pretty good for the Mercedes. But yet again, when you have a Red Bull that's all around great, it's hard to compete. Do I think this Mercedes team can come back by the end of the year? I think so. I think a championship will be far, and them really getting to that point will be a tall task ahead. But it is nice to see that the whole entire grid is pretty damn close. The top four teams, I think, can all fight for a win at some point during the year, track dependent, but we'll see. This W14 is definitely, I would say, a very iffy car to judge off of one race, and we really got to see where it goes from there. The team last year went from a car that was 1.5 seconds on at some point to the Red Bull to actually catching up and being on race pace merit with the Red Bull. I don't doubt this team. I fully believe that there is a lot more pace to be found in this car. I think that one race will not judge the whole entire season. George, Lewis, all of them talk about it. I do believe there will be a Mercedes comeback. Championship? I don't know. But comeback? Yes. And I do believe they will get race wins into the 2023 season. What are you guys' thoughts on the W14? And do you guys think that this car can make it back to fighting with Red Bull and fighting for a championship by the end of 2023? Please leave your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world. And peace.